So 7 All-Star games, 2 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers. You have, I mean, the franchise records are ridiculous. RBIs, doubles, runs scored, hits, well, walks, everything. Like you have almost every
strikeouts.
Yeah. Longevity. Give it the longevity. Brett Favre had all the bad records too. Tell me about when baseball became your it.
Well, first of all, thanks everybody for coming. And and what an honor. I mean, Tiki Barber, are you kidding me? I mean, I feel like I should be asking him the questions. You know, I played all sports when I was a kid. You know, truth be told, that 757 area of Virginia has become somewhat of a sports hotbed, not just baseball, but, you know, football, basketball. And I loved sports growing up. And, you know, being 6 foot and 200 pounds, I realized very quickly that it was probably going to be baseball or hockey, and I couldn't ice skate. So baseball it was. And
were you fast?
For a 6 foot, 200 pound kind of pudgy guy, yeah. I was. I'm kind of sneaky fast.
I was gonna say, you could have played football. I'm only 5'9", 200 pounds.
I'm soft. I couldn't even stay healthy playing baseball. You know?
Well, let me follow and ask you this. I mean, because damn, he just looks the part, right? Like, chisel a baseball player, right? Chiseled chin, you know, good-looking body, got a swing, got speed, got everything. When did you know you had it to make it to the big leagues?
That's a good question. You know, I always doubted myself, and I think that's one thing that always pushed me, was I always didn't think I was good enough. You know, I always hated failure more than I loved success. And that was kind of my motivating factor with, you know, I was good for my high school team, but how did I compare to the state of Virginia? Okay, I realized I was good in Virginia, but how do I compare to the United States? Okay, I was good in the United States, but how do I compare to the Latin American countries, Asia? You know, so I always kind of had that doubt, and I think that's something that always pushed me.
You know, I grew up in Virginia also, so when I came to New York, it was like, what the fuck? Like, when you came to New York, you were a Mets fan, obviously. Yep. But what was that experience like? Because you're from the 757, right? And now you're in New York City, and the expectation is ridiculously high. And that's really the question. How do you deal with the high expectation that came with being David Wright in New York?
I watched a lot of Tiki Barber film, and I tried to emulate it.
I like that.
No, it's, you know, for me, it was one of these things where no matter what obstacle was in my way, I was willing to knock it down to accomplish what my goals were. And, you know, although New York can be a tough place to play for some, you know, I feel like early on I embraced it, and I wanted to become a New Yorker. And I feel like New York kind of accepted me as one of their own, which is tough to do. Yeah, thank you. Especially, you know, a kid from Virginia, there's probably not a ton in common with New Yorkers. And to come in here and to be welcomed the way that I was welcomed, make me feel comfortable early on. And, you know, I think I thrived because of that, you know, comfort feeling that I received.
Yeah. Now, I wonder the rivalry, the Mets and the Yankees rivalry, that will always exist. I know we're mostly Mets fans in here. But did you ever think about that? Was it something that, like, drove you, or was it something that just kind of was second thought? You know what I mean?
You always said the right things to the media. You know, during the Subway Series, it was always...
Okay, so what did you say to your teammates, though?
Yeah, it was like you knew when the Subway Series was. You know, it was always kind of one of those when the schedule came out, it's like, okay, you know, late July, early July, whatever, you know, that's going to be fun. And, you know, it certainly held true. You know, when you walk around the city during the Subway Series and you see either the pinstripes or you see orange and blue, you know, it just gets you fired up for that series. And it's something where you want to give your fans the bragging rights going into work on Monday. You know, you want, you know, even if, you know, we're having a good year, they're having a good year, you know, we're not having such a good year, they're not, whatever, it doesn't matter. Those 3 or 6 games, whatever it was, you want to give the Mets fans something to beat their chests about at work on Monday.
Yeah. Did you ever feel a pressure to live up to Yankees' historic success?
Yeah. I mean, it's something where, although they're not in our division and not even in our league, you want to be, as a team, you want to be the story in New York. You want to, although they've accomplished so much in their history and obviously, well-deserved, you want to knock them off that pedestal and become that team. And, obviously that's a tough undertaking, but that was always our goal for those 3 or 6 games to, hey, let's beat these guys and get the Empire State Building orange and blue for that night.
Yeah, every team, I think, has an iconic player. For the Yankees, it was Jeter. For the Mets, it was you for a lot of your tenure. Was there ever, in your mind, a comparison?
No, that's high praise, and that's, even to, he's on a level that few, not just in New York, but few baseball players will ever be. You're talking about, one of the best, and, a guy that, being a young player in New York, when I got called up in 2004, it was like, okay, you want to win, you want to do things the right way, you want to become a perennial all-star, maybe one day a Hall of Famer. Which guy am I going to try to follow? And it was like, okay, that seems like a pretty good example. So as a guy that certainly, he demands respect. He is a winning player. I always admired the way he played the game to win. It wasn't about his stat line at the end of the year. It was, okay, we won 90 games or we won 100 games. I had a good year. And I always loved that about him.
So 7 All-Star games, 2 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers. You have, the franchise records are ridiculous. RBIs, doubles, runs scored, hits, walks, everything. Like you have almost every
strikeouts.
Yeah. Longevity. Give it the longevity. Brett Favre had all the bad records too. But there was one year that was not great for you, 2009. And we all remember this happened, August 15th. Matt Cain hit you in the head. You got a concussion, and it was one of your worst seasons of your career, maybe the worst season of your career. Only 10 home runs and 72 or 4 or so RBIs. But you came back from it.
Yep.
What was that like to feel off?
Well, it's probably felt like you felt like on a daily basis.
Yeah, but as a
playing
football player,
yeah.
I'm supposed to get hit.
For me, it was something that you always know when you step in the box that there's a fear in the back of your mind that you might get hit, and it hurts. There's no doubt about it. And, but when you're talking about kind of getting hit in the head and then, it's kind of lights out for a second, it's certainly scary. And for me, coming back from that, it was definitely a hurdle. I wasn't necessarily afraid of getting hit again. It was you get a little gun shy. I think that's just part of the rehabilitation process. So, yeah, it took a little bit to feel comfortable in the box again. And I think one of the best things that happened to me was you get hit again, not necessarily in the head, but, you get hit again. It's like, you know what? It hurts a little bit, but it's not that bad. You'll get over it.
David, you've had a lot of successes in your baseball career, but the failures are often what define athletes and often your legacies. Was losing the World Series the hardest thing?
For sure. I remember talking to the guys kind of after the loss, and certainly wasn't. You're in a moment where you want to hang your head, and it's only natural. But it certainly was a season to be proud of. I think we were hovering around 500 most of the year, and we just went on and thanks to a great trade, we got Yoenis Cespedes that year. And, really took off. And I remember telling the guys, don't let this be the pinnacle. Don't rest on that. Let's come in next year remembering how this feels and use that to our advantage. And, we went back to the postseason in 2016 and lost a 1-game playoff to Madison Bumgarner and the Giants. But, certainly that kind of success, or I guess failure ultimately, drives you to, it's an addicting feeling playing in the postseason.
Yeah, and it scares you because you don't know if you're ever going to get back, right? That happened to me in 2000. We went to the Super Bowl, got beat by the Ravens, and I never went back. They decided to go back after I retired, but that's a different story. Let me back up for a second. You, in 2013, were given an honor it's unbelievable. Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter, and John Franco are the only other New York Mets to be named captain. What did that mean to you? And did you realize it at the time?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about New York Met legends, Gary Carter, Keith Hernandez, Johnny Franco. So when the team approached me with that idea, it was very important for me that everybody was on board, whether I believe we had Bartolo Colon, who had 100 years in the big leagues, or a rookie that was his first year in the big leagues. It was important to me that everybody felt that way. But certainly if that was the best moment that I've ever had on a baseball field, hitting a home run in the World Series, the single biggest honor in being a New York Met was being named captain, because for the organization, the fan base, the players to view you as a captain, for me, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, I'm just meeting you for the first time. You're a hell of a man. And you were a damn good baseball player, too. Mr. Spike.
And what an honor. Thank you.